Hello, hello. Welcome back to everybody's favorite, more Chaos Head Noah. It's been a few days since I've recorded the last session. As I record this, only 4 sessions have gone up on YouTube, so as I record this, people are just finding out that Shogun and our boy Takumi are the same person, something that Takumi, after 12 episodes, still has not quite fully accepted, I don't think. I also just noticed everyone's swords are in the background. Fessa's is on the far left. That one right beside hers looks like Orihara's. I'm not too sure who the ones on the right are, but, I guess we'll find out. One of them is probably going to be ours. We got another little comment. As we heard before, we got another comment from Meltychan7549, who was kind enough to elaborate a bit on the delusions. I'm just going to let it ride now, because at this point I'm sort of committed to the neutral route, but I guess green and red doesn't mean delusion or not delusion. I guess it means if we leave things, the delusion stays the same, but we can also opt to make it better or worse. I'm not too sure why we would want to do that. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a just what I'm getting out of it point of view. I'm sure once I go back and have some sort of spoiler-free guide, once we have our second run through on this play, it'll be like, oh, that's how this affects things. But right now the game is just not explaining itself, which, as a former game developer, that really kind of rustles my jimmies. That kind of just puts me off and be like, guys, come on. Come on, what are you doing? Just put a little tooltip on there or something, give me something to work with here. But no, now I'm stubborn, so we're just going to keep going on neutral and see where it takes us. But anyway, where it's taking us has been interesting so far, so I'm not complaining. Last time we had quite a little chase, with you essentially going to the police and telling the police that we're the murderer. And let's see how that turns out, because again, we're not hiding from anybody. We're in our shipping crate right now, which everyone who knows us knows where we are, so our base of operations sucks. But oh well. I am curious where things will go from here, because we've once again got another revelation about Shogun, not just meeting him in Shibuya, but now seeing the video from the group dive, which Shogun apparently took. And that's curious, because it means Shogun is real and not just a personality in our head, so how's that's gonna work out. I also wondered, this is just a theory that popped into my head, I wonder if the murders are actually done by different people. Because we know there's some evil organization out there who's influencing certain people's behaviors, and we know that it's not just us. They're talking about the number of people they've gathered. Are they influencing other people? Is it possible we did the first murder, Rimi did the third one, who knows who did the second and fourth ones? Maybe we did the fourth one because our favorite catchphrase is there. Who knows? Maybe we did all of them. Yua seems to think that. I would like to see her notes. I have a feeling we're not going to see them for a while, though. The only other thing I think I'll bring up before we jump back in is I did notice during editing there was one thing that slipped by me. When we first met Rimi, just before that encounter, somebody sent us a friend request online, and we just sort of took it because we were in a good mood because of our new toy. Our new Sarah figurine, and we were just like, sure, I'll be friends, must be fandom or something, and then the game was just like, okay, moving on. So I wonder what's going to come of that. No real thoughts about it, I just want to flag it up as a reminder. In any case, when last we left off, time for Chapter 5. And apparently, to no one's surprise, the leaked video of the group dive exploded. So this video that we saw, we theorized it's Shogun because we can hear the wheelchair, and we noted that the camera was held at a bit of a low profile, which would also make sense if the person recording was in a wheelchair. That's probably not something anyone else is picking up on, but it is a publicly leaked video, so yeah, I'm sure the video would explode. Grimm had told me that the entire internet was going insane, and lo and behold, he wasn't lying. A huge chunk of that channel was now convinced that all 4 New Gen murders have been committed by the same person. I'm not sure why that video would contribute to that. Oh, too long didn't read? I saw that tip. Whose eyes are those eyes is the New Gen Killer's signature move. No, it's our signature saying, and that's not something Takumi's appreciating. Also, we're not starting with a vignette this chapter. That's curious. The guy who upped it on YouTube has to be the perp. Whose eyes are those eyes is so freaking sweet. It has its own acronym. Oh my god. It's not even whose eyes are those eyes anymore. It's just WEATE. Bloody hell. Okay, I'll report that immediately. Whoa, whose eyes are blah, blah, blah. Too long didn't read. WEATE was written out at the scene of the vampire. It was on the wall. That's how it got popular. That means there's a connection between the first and last case. Yes, because in the video, just before they jump, one of the people who jumped off the building said, whose eyes are those eyes? So I guess that's how people are starting to tie these things together, which means that the man-child and crucifixion also have to be connected. What else we got? Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes now has its own emote. Fantastic. Takumi must be loving this. Also, WEATE's first appearance was at the vampire case, so it couldn't possibly have copied the group dive. Well, I couldn't have copied the group dive because the video wasn't out yet. Smoke weed every day. Yes, do that. I saw the video, but it looks fake. Some actors did it for views. I mean, it was a thing that happened. You twats really gotta stop using Whose Eyes or whatever so often. They just want your attention and you're giving it to them. Not untrue. The same dude did all the New Gen murders? Whose eyes are those eyes? Now, the tower in that vid's actually just 2 meters tall. There's a trampoline or something. Yeah, that's totally it. Agreed, if that phrase keeps becoming a trend, there will keep being more murders. So I don't think anything's going to stop that at this point. Y'all need to tone it down. It's not just a meme anymore. Obligatory don't look. It's topping the charts. The view count, it's skyrocketing. It's so brutal. Don't look, guys. Anyone from the perp behind WEATE yet? We're just going to call it WEATE now. Breaking news taking over every station. Is something taking over every station? The news on TV was just as erratic. Okay. Like 140 had said, so the last comment there, every available station, save for Toto TV, had been interrupted by the breaking news where they'd play the leaked video on loop. Except Toto TV. I wonder why that matters. The broadcast had lasted for about an hour. It was pretty shocking to see that the footage had actually been broadcast across the entire country. Of course, all the stations censored the part where they dived off the building at the end, but it was still pretty impactful. The opinions of those on TV were more or less the exact same as everyone's online. They all attributed the 4 New Gen cases to the same culprit. Then again, that wasn't really much of a surprise. They had finally found a common denominator between them after all. Whose eyes are those eyes? Somebody's going to look up your old essay and come for you. It had become a popular phrase all throughout Shibuya, literally memes and emotes, and the phrase had first become shown to the world when the details behind the 4th case, the vampire, were shared. People then learned that the victims of the group dive had said it as well, even though it had occurred a month before the vampire case. In the 4 incidents that had occurred so far, it had been used in both the first and the last one. It had to mean something. It made the theory that a single person was behind the murders all the more probable. You was going to be knocking again in a minute. The police then held a press conference stating that they intended to identify the person who'd posted the video as soon as they could, because of course they would. A number of politicians commented that the actions of the culprit were completely deplorable and that they need to be apprehended immediately. Politicians being as useful as always. The Mewtwo video had been removed by a moderator less than 3 hours after it was uploaded, but by then it was far too late. 3 hours? Good God. That channel had already gotten their hands on it, and from there nothing could have stopped it from being re-uploaded and spreading like wildfire. And then, just before midnight, the following facts had been revealed through a police statement. We had a police conference before the end of Chapter 3 and all the nonsense that happened last episode, so this could be interesting. The group dive video, oh damn, was uploaded from a computer located in a Shibuya manga cafe known as That Cafe. It was uploaded from a specific private room in the facility, room number 37. Who plays in room 37? I'll bet the staff know, and I'll bet they'll be happy to cooperate, and that's bad news for us. So no more At Cafe for you. You're done. You're not going there ever again, I'm taking it. I sat paralyzed in my seat, my head hanging low as I hugged myself tightly. I'm just waiting for Anime Columbo to come in and arrest me at this point. Without realizing it, I had started eavesdropping. I was becoming hypersensitive to the voices coming from my surroundings. I overheard a lot of conversations, and unsurprisingly, the group dive video was the topic on everyone's mind. Some girls were even joking, saying to each other, whose eyes are those eyes? Hey, didn't someone write that on the blackboard a couple of weeks ago? Wonder what's up with that. I bit my lip and let my gaze wander onto the surface of my desk. Where's Mizumi to make my day even worse? That video was evidence. Evidence that Shogun actually existed. Evidence that I hadn't killed anyone? I'm not sure that second sentence tracks. Or are you saying that Shogun did it, not you? I mean, that's a fair point. If Shogun is a separate entity, what's up with that? Or is he a delusion? It proved that I didn't have multiple personalities, that the old-looking man in the wheelchair was the New Gen killer. But why would Shogun even upload it? I don't know. I don't think he's quite put this together yet. Why would he hint at himself being the killer when the culprit's identity had been shrouded in mystery so far? Only two explanations made sense to me. One, Shogun was showing off by killing people because it amused him, which was pretty likely considering that time when he'd appeared in front of me. Or he was trying to provoke me. He does seem to be trying to communicate with us. He sent us that picture, and he is using that computer. Again, that makes sense if he is us, but the personality seems to be working to try to connect, and even went out of his way to say, I finally got to meet you, or whatever, when we saw him in Shibuya. So, what's the objective here? For some reason, Shogun and his underling Yua, Psy, were doing everything in their power to fuck with me. No, I'm pretty sure you're going to do a good enough job fucking with yourself. I don't know the reason why, I just knew that they were trying to frame me as the new-gen culprit. At this point, even the police were probably suspicious of me. Shogun was trying to corner me. And that was another way in which he was communicating with us that has not yet been made clear. Did you receive my message? Which presumably was the beeps and the boops in the voicemail. You must awaken quickly or you're going to get run over by traffic. You're in the middle of a goddamn intersection. Because if you don't, many more people are going to die. And this is the other thing, is Shogun, I don't know, is this personality trying to stop us from killing? And it's because of, I don't know, too cryptic, I don't know. Don't forget, you mustn't run away. Oh my dude, we have been doing nothing but running lately. Trust me. When he'd appeared in front of me, that was what he said. It felt like he'd been trying to intimidate me, and that he was basically saying, I'm going to kill you, don't you dare run away. Odd interpretation. And now he's totally blindsided me by uploading that video and making sure that it spread all throughout Japan. There was no doubt that Shogun had moved his plan to the next phase. It had been naive to think that I wasn't being targeted anymore. If anything, it'd be more accurate to say that his plotting against me had moved from passive to active. I don't know, there's still a lot of naivete in play here. It was now finally in full swing. I was terrified, especially of that video. Shogun had killed 5 high schoolers without even lifting a finger, despite being even worse off physically than me. Is there an explanation for why they jumped off the roof, though? I'm not hearing a whole lot of speculation on that. If all the new-gen cases were actually his doing, then all those other gruesome murders, the man-child, crucifixion, and vampire, had all been enacted by that very same frail body. Again, maybe. Or maybe Yua helped him out. No. Pump those brakes. Not quite what I was thinking. In any case, I didn't have any faith that I'd be able to defend myself against people who'd commit such horrible atrocities. Just thinking of them sent chills down my spine. Chills that combined with the red-hot anger I was feeling. Why was I being targeted like this? What did I do to deserve it? And there was also that message. Whose eyes are those eyes? And where is my damn magic sword? If I wasn't careful, I would start trembling uncontrollably. To keep that under control, I had to keep my body from relaxing. I had to always be aware of my surroundings and be ready to bolt the second I saw someone approaching. This guy's like a rabbit in human form. I don't know where Shogun or Yua would show themselves again. Hell, I had no guarantee that Yua was Shogun's only underling. Maybe even my own classmates were under his influence, their laughter and idle chatter acting as mere camouflage, until just the right moment. I had to find a way to parry surprise attacks, like the one in At Cafe yesterday. If I didn't, I'd be killed next time for sure. Okay, step 1. Change your routine from what it's been for the last, 5 years. I needed to get a D-sword ASAP. The only way out of this was to get a D-sword. I'd internalized what Ayase and Senna had said, Ayase being Fess's real name, and I'd searched online about it, and it all had me convinced. Getting my hands on a D-sword would save me. That's what you thought about the last one. You could barely discipline a puppy with that thing. The night before, I desperately tried to gather information on D-swords while keeping an eye on the new-gen shitstorm, but my research barely bore any fruits. It's in a crack in reality behind your head. Fess already told you. Yes? Mizumi? I cradled my head, tearing at my greasy hair. How was I supposed to find a D-sword? I'm through the D-sword chapter. You must find it by yourself. I know not of any other methods. Well, how'd you get yours? You know of at least one method. Ayase had said that, but that was barely even a hint. Yeah, your hint is figure it out. Kind of like the delusion triggers in this game. My thoughts weighed heavily on me. I was starting to freak out. My heart was steadily getting crushed by anxiety. I needed to hurry and find a D-sword, whatever it took. I had to find one. If I didn't, I'd be done for. Before becoming New Gen's next victim, I had to find one. But I needed to find out how. I had no idea how you're supposed to get one. I needed some kind of hint, something, anything. I had to figure it out fast or I'd lose my chance at finding it. Was I even capable of finding one? This was no time to be at school. Well, you gotta be. It was my own life or graduating. I didn't need to debate which one was more important. Oh, you actually gonna skip out? Never mind, you're not. You're gonna sit there like a puss. And yet, why was I right here? Sensing someone approaching me, I quickly raised my head and braced myself for contact. Oh. It's not Mizumi, for a change. Whoa, talking about making me jump. Rimi was standing there blinking repeatedly as if she'd been stunned by my sudden movement. Yeah, no kidding. I made you jump? Stop scaring me like that. All the stress in my body released at once and I crumpled on top of my desk with a big sigh. How many times... This is starting to become a conversation starter, Taku. Are you okay, Taku? The answer, by default, being no. Fulfilling her usual quota, Rimi peered into my face. I hurriedly lowered my eyes. You look kind of pale. I mean, like, more so than usual. And you're sweating buckets. I mean, more so than usual. And your eyes are bloodshot. I mean, more so than usual. Was Rimi with me or against me? An ally or an enemy? After she'd saved me, I'd grown a lot less wary of her. Still need an explanation for that alley scene. Even if she wasn't responsible, she was there. But there was still a lot of unanswered questions that I'd yet to figure out. Like why she'd been covered in blood at the scene of the crucifixion, like Psy'Min Sezz. Or how we were supposed to be such good friends and that we'd been classmates since our first year that I had no recollection of it. Are you feeling okay? Do you need to go to the nurse? Rimi tilted her head slightly, a worried expression on her face. No, I'm fine. As fine as I ever am lately. I turned away from her. I couldn't say it to her face. Alright, what's going to happen this episode? Because things have been speeding up. Especially after the D-Sword exposition dumps from Senna and Fess. When the classes for the day finally ended, I felt like every ounce of energy had been drained from my body. Even during class, all I'd done was remain on high alert, repeatedly scanning my surroundings. I hadn't slept since yesterday, but staying this vigilant kept me wide awake. The school day felt like an eternity, and the sheer amount of time I'd spent there sent me spiraling into a deep depression. Why is it that the way we perceive time changes depending on our mood? Truth? Some say that time flows at a constant rate, but that might not actually be true. Very commonly, when I'm having people have their initial hypnosis sessions with me, when they come out of hypnosis, I'll always ask them how long they feel like they've been there, and I'll get answers ranging from 5 minutes to 2 hours, when it's only been 35, 40 minutes at the point where I'm asking that. So time distortion is very common in hypnosis. It's also very common in situations where you're going into a natural state of hypnosis, like when you're incredibly stressed out. The speed of time changes depending on each person's subjective perspective. I've always theorized that it's a conspiracy to homogenize humanity's understanding of the concept of time by implementing units like seconds and hours. Also, they can deceive people into forgetting that perception of time varies from person to person. No, I'm pretty sure the time stays the same. The perception of time varies, but your perception is bullshit. And building off that theory, if the length of time is dependent on each person's perception, then conversely, doesn't that mean that the flow of time can be controlled at will? Yeah, you keep thinking that. Maybe Shogun can do that. As I thought about that, I remembered Senna talking about controlling other people's wills. And conversely, with this technology, even those who have been blind from birth would be able to accurately view anything that the eyes can naturally perceive. This is made possible by using video equipment such as video cameras. Video data from a camera is converted into electronic signals that are sent directly to the brain, causing the person to observe that sequence of images. Conversely, that would mean converting the images a person observes into electrical signals, then sending them to equipment that can render video. The aforementioned equipment didn't have to be a video camera either. Okay, so we are touching on the idea of how we might have gotten our hands on that picture of the crucifixion. For example, what would happen if you connected a person to a hard drive recorder or a hard disk recorder, then showed them recordings of someone's vacation? What if instead of real-life recordings, you showed them an anime? Technically, anime is 2D and therefore delusionary. But people who are blind from birth have never seen anything from the 3D world, so if they were shown an anime and told this is how the world is, well, then they would believe that the 2D world is reality, right? To that person, that delusion would become their reality. A delusion perceived as reality doesn't actually make it reality. Here's another example, which apparently I have a choice to make better or worse, but I'm going to do nothing because we are set in our ways. If person A sent an image from their brain to a hard disk recorder that processed it and transmitted that image to person B's brain, then person A's delusion would become person B's reality. Delusion becoming subjective reality. In theory, it was possible. I mean, hey, I do this all the time. I constantly mess with people's reality. I make them forget letters and numbers or their own name. I make them think their shoe is so hot that they have to take it off or they're going to burn themselves. I make them think that that balloon over there on the stage is so heavy that they can't lift it. Again, speaking... Holy shit, I was a genius. No, you're not. Shut up. Sit down. Learn your place. I was over the moon by how brilliant my theory was. Okay, I'm tempted to hit the red over here. Maybe that was how I'd acquire a D-sword. Ayase had said that they had something to do with delusions, hadn't she? My god, our D-sword is going to be enormous. Alright, I should hurry up and go home so I can look it up. Are we done with school for the day? I stood up abruptly, threw my bag over my shoulder, and looked toward the door to the classroom. Alright, brace for impact. Oh dear. Look who's still stalking us, only to find her standing there. And 5 cops behind her. Looking at me. Hi, Yua. How's it going? That's how it's going. It's going like that. I instinctively screamed. At least half of my classmates were still in the classroom. Every one of their icy gazes pierced at me at once. Stop it! Run! Don't look at me! Run away! There better be another exit to this classroom. Please don't look at me. Get out of here. In a pure state of panic, I blew past my classmates and burst out of the classroom via the door Yua wasn't standing at. Okay, good. With no real destination in mind, I found myself in the courtyard. See, this is why Shogun told you don't run away. You do nothing but run away. But the second I set foot in it, I was hit by the strong urge to vomit. I tried to hold it back, but it was no use. I fell to my knees and out-spewed the contents of my stomach, because that's how vomit works. Oh! I don't need a CG for that. I'm good. I'm good, thanks. Yeah, no. The stomach acid made my throat burn. My vision blurred from tears. It was hard to breathe, and you had probably caught us anyway. The aftertaste was absolutely vile. I must have been way more maxed than I thought I was. It might have been because of the all-nighter I pulled. Well, that didn't help. As I wiped the corners of my mouth, I looked around me restlessly, but I couldn't see a soul. Good. However, the shadowy corners and the blind spots I'd never usually paid attention to had become terrifying to me, because that's where Yua hides. That's her thing. That's her stand. I began to think that Yua and Shogun might be hiding in them. The second my brain came up with that, I could no longer take a single step. Somebody save me. Where's my D-sword? I wanted to cry. I felt nauseous all over again. I didn't end up vomiting, but I dry heaved several times. The pain made me cry even harder. I was nearly sobbing at this point. But then, suddenly, someone's hand began to gently rub my back. Okay, not Mizumi. Probably Rimi. It might be Yua. Terrified, I turned around. It might be Nanami, but I doubt it. Okay, it is Rimi. You're okay. We are not okay. We are the definition of not okay. Who are you looking at? Talk about delusions. Rimi was there. Everything's going to be okay. Whoa, you found my sword? I wasn't being condemned for feeling this way. No, her words were a tender affirmation. Because I'm on your side, Taku. She didn't even so much as grimace at the smell of my vomit. She didn't show any sign of disdain when she saw my face covered in tears and snot, nor when she saw the vomit still clinging to the corners of my mouth. She simply gave me a gentle smile, reassuring me that it would all be okay. She drew closer to me. She continued rubbing my back gently. Why was it that before and even now, every time I thought I needed to be saved, Rimi would always heroically appear in front of me? Again, what's the telepathy angle here? I need to know. Right now, Rimi was right here. It reassured me. I felt better. Before I even realized what was happening, my true feelings began to pour out. Despite the fact that I never talked about myself. Save me. Being alone is so scary. Maybe that was why I bothered coming to school. Up until now, I always thought I'd be way better off alone. Of course, even now, it was still terrifying to talk to others. I wasn't at all confident in my ability to actually talk to anyone, but with Shogun and Yua trying to destroy my life, I had never been so anxious, scared, and alone. I wanted someone to be there for me. They didn't even need to be nice to me. I just wanted someone to be present. Oh, I'm scared of being alone. Well, if you're scared of being alone, I'll stay by your side, so you won't have to be. Those words held no ill will, no hesitation, no irresolution. Though, of course, I can't be there all the time. Ta-ha-ha. I have murdering to do. Her shy gaze suddenly moved up toward the sky. Her eyes were looking so far away. Just what could she be looking at in that sky? We did have a very brief dream sequence with you to that effect, didn't we? We'll go to school in the morning. Talk about whatever comes to mind in between classes. Eat together at lunchtime. Then at the end of the day, we'll head back home. Sometimes stopping by a shop or two on the way back. Then when we do get back, we'll chat for a bit in your room. And then when we're all tuckered out, we'll say goodbye with a nice wave and a see you tomorrow. If you're fine with that, I can definitely go the distance. I've always wanted to be that person for someone. Wasn't that kind of almost like being in a relationship? I was stunned. She was completely serious. I could see it in her face. Why? Why would you go that far? Because? A flag, if I'd ever seen one, right? I was going to joke about a flag, and here's Takumi. Got me covered. Is this a flag? Yeah, of course. Because I love you, Taku. I could see it coming from a mile away. That had to be what she was going to say, right? Granted, I had no clue why Rimi would have fallen for me. No, wait. This shit had to be bait. Something similar had happened before with Yua, exactly. With her, it had all been nothing more than deception, ending with me drowning in the depths of despair. So I couldn't get my hopes up. I had to prepare for the worst. It was possible that Rimi, too, was an enemy... Bishi! That again? She suddenly saluted me. I was taken aback by the suddenness of it, and my mind shot to the possibility that she was about to reveal her true self. And yet, all that I saw in Rimi's face was that same bright, gentle smile. Because we're friends, of course. See, that's what I thought she was going to say, but of course Taku goes to because I love you. Wrong flag. The way I see it, it'd be weird if I didn't help you, you know? Well, there you go, that's why. So no more being a sad sap, Taku. Understood? Because we were friends. If she'd said, because I love you, Taco, and this is how I'm going to show it, it would have felt like my life had begun anew. Yeah, you ain't that lucky, but even if we'd be friends, that alone made me incredibly happy. Having someone being kind to me. Having someone do things for me without expecting anything in return. I couldn't believe how happy it made me. It might have been the very first time I'd ever felt like that. But above all else, I should really wipe this vomit off my face. It made me realize that I wasn't alone. To me, Rimi's existence was my salvation. The nausea I'd felt earlier had finally subsided, and I was feeling much better. Here, want to use this? Third time with the handkerchief? Faint floral scent. This time we accepted it. I don't mind if you get it dirty. Heck, why don't you just keep it? Thank you. I felt guilty about it, but I ultimately decided that I would accept her generosity. I wiped off the vomit that had stained the corners of my mouth with the handkerchief. It was the first time I'd ever received a present from a girl that wasn't a family member. I wasn't so sure about calling it a present, though. For me, someone who was so isolated and helpless, even a simple thing like this felt like an irreplaceable treasure to me. I felt so delighted, so relieved, that I nearly started to cry all over again. So where's Yua hiding? Should we mosey on home then? Her voice was so carefree. We'll head back together. Apparently she already intended to make good on what she said before, that she'd stay by my side. Not that I'd told her whether I wanted her to or not yet, but it wasn't like I had any intention of saying no. Being alone terrified me. I didn't want to be alone. As I was now, I had no one to rely on but Rimi. However, I still couldn't say that I was stable now, even with Rimi with me. On the way back, I chose to take a different route than usual, walking cautiously all the way. I couldn't stop trembling. Yeah, Rimi's not going to do a whole lot if the police come for you. Every corner, with even an inch of shadow, seemed dangerous. Every time I got to any kind of intersection, I was tormented by delusions of Yua or Shogun waiting for me at the end of it, making me freeze in place. Whenever that happened, Rimi would take over. She would look over toward the end of the intersecting road, and when the coast was clear, she'd nod to me. It's okay, there's no one there. Relieved, I followed after her. Everything she'd done without even a hint of irritation. Say, can I ask you something? What the heck happened back there? You're going to have to be a little more specific. There's a few situations and scenarios where that question could apply. I was slightly hesitant to tell her. Is this going to be just at school? Are we talking about the intersection? If I said something here, Rimi could become a target for Shogun. I would get her involved. Oh, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. No. I'll tell you. Are you going to spill your guts? Are you going to tell her everything? My mouth had already started moving. I definitely didn't feel comfortable with the prospect of getting her involved, but if I didn't explain to her what was happening here, she wouldn't be able to understand the gravity of the situation. For the sake of my well-being, I had to turn a blind eye to the possibility that I might put her in danger. Oh, well, isn't that just chivalrous of you? She had been the one who said she'd stay by my side, so I was sure she'd be fine with it. So I told her everything. I told her that Shogun was actually the new-gen culprit, that Yua was one of his underlings, that they were both stalking me. What had happened in front of 107 the other day. I laid it all bare, albeit not without a fair share of stuttering. Some of this is not technically accurate, so, yeah, she may have questions. When I told her about the time Shogun appeared before in a wheelchair, Rimi's lips pursed as she began to ponder. I'd always wanted to ask her about back then. Seemed like now was as good a time as any. I wonder if I saw anything like that. An old man in a wheelchair. She certainly didn't sound like she had. Try to remember. It's really important that you affirm my delusion, but... Rimi frowned, almost like she was hesitant to say what was on her mind. Well, for starters, the Shibuya Station Plaza wasn't empty. Far from it. You know that, right? Yeah, for starters. It was the same as always. So that was what Rimi had seen back then. I was hoping that she and I would agree on what we'd seen, but I guess not. Rimi, or me, which one of us had seen what the area was actually supposed to look like? Well, probably her, for reasons already given. Had I been wrong about what I'd seen after all? Had that empty Shibuya been nothing more than a delusion of mine? But if it was, then there was a small discrepancy. An old man had appeared in that empty Shibuya. Shogun. What was the explanation for that? If the Shibuya being empty part was a delusion, then Shogun could be a delusion as well. There were a whole bunch of people in front of the station, so it'd be kind of hard to notice one guy in a wheelchair. So, yeah, sorry. I didn't see anybody like that. Haha. Sorry. I wish I could help. At the very least, I knew Shogun himself wasn't a delusion. At first, I thought he was just a delusion, but ever since the group dive video had come out, my perception of him had swapped to the exact opposite. Shogun was real. He existed, in reality. But that empty Shibuya, meanwhile, it could have been just a delusion. And in reality, the front of the station had been overflowing with people, just like it always was. I was the only one who'd observed something different. A different set of scenery than everyone else. Kind of reminds me of what Senna said, but how could that be possible? So, putting all that aside, do you mind if I ask you a favor? What's that? Rimi joined her hands together in a prayer-like gesture. There's a CD I really want to buy, and since we've come all this way, I'd like to make a real quick stop. Would you be okay with that? I really wanted to get back to my base as soon as possible. Dude, 20 people are waiting for you to show up there. Don't do it. The reason I'd taken such a long detour was because I was afraid of the possibility that you or a shogun might have been ready to ambush me. It wasn't so I could go on some shopping spree. But if I were to refuse after all that, she might end up going back on her promise to stay by my side. If I were to fuck up badly enough, she could get angry and leave by herself. What the hell should I do? This sucks. I needed Rimi to stay with me. I wasn't sure I could make it to my base alone. So just go there. In the end, I wasn't able to refuse. So I did what I had to in order to survive and stuck as close to her as possible. I guess it was reasonable to think that Yua wouldn't attack me in a public place like this. She doesn't have to. She could just go to the police like she did last time. But I was more afraid that they might have been hiding among the crowd. Every time I would almost bump into someone, I would scream inside my head. Police cars? Rimi's words frightened me. I quickly retreated behind her. Oh, well, this is an interesting twist. Rimi was right. There were 2 police cars parked on the road, and right next to them were 3 police officers in uniform. Oh, yikes. Okay, audio, settle down. I think I'll be turning that down in post. The police had also been pursuing me. Obviously, the basis behind it was a completely false accusation, but the incompetent police didn't know that. Those cops might have been searching for me, too. Or so I thought, but that apparently wasn't the case. I'm just reading the signs here. The cops' gaze were fixated on the crowd of people marching down the street like they owned it. Were they protesters or something? They were carrying these giant signs and flags, and they were wearing the typical sashes and headbands you'd see among those kind of people. There was a child marching along with his parents, holding hands with both of them. He looked like he had no idea where he was, and he was wearing a t-shirt with the words, "Whose eyes are those eyes?" written on it in permanent marker. I see that kid. I bit my lip. I wonder why they're protesting. Well, they appear to think that the new gen stuff might be terrorist acts. The police marching were of all ages and genders. Their march was mostly silent and solemn, but at times they all echoed their chants. Drive the devil out of Shibuya! Expel his demons from this place! Oh, we're not the only one who went to the demon angle, I see. Demons? Yeah, like you. On the sign were a number of different things, such as drive the devil out of town or protect Shibuya from terrorists. Must have been some kind of protest against the New Gen incidents. And there was no point in protesting against that. If they had the time to do that, then they could just hunt down Shogun and kill him. Then I wouldn't need to worry about him anymore. Taku, let's go. Clearly uninterested, Rimi turned her gaze away from the protesters and quickly started walking toward the entrance to the CD shop. I don't care about your protest. I'm here to buy something. As soon as we entered the shop, Rimi headed straight toward the indie section. Is it going to be a Phantasm album? Unlike the J-pop section, there weren't many customers there. Rimi stopped in front of shelf P. Okay, I see where this is going, and then started looking for the CD she wanted. Oh, but we have that CD, don't we? After a minute of browsing, her shoulders slumped. Darn it. I don't think they have it. An indie group whose name started with P? Could that be... Taku, do you know Phantasm? They're all the rage right now. So it was them. How could I not know them? I'd even gone to see their concert, and I owned a CD. I nodded, and Rimi smiled. I'm not really super in tune to this kind of stuff, so I only found out about them recently. What, from Azumi? I planned to borrow it from a friend, but no one I know seems to have it. Welp, we have a solution to that. That's why I figured I'd just go and buy one for myself. It's been over a week since then, and I've been looking everywhere for it, but no matter where I go, it's always sold out. Are they ever going to restock it? I own it. Rimi's eyes went wide. You own it?
CD?
You mean the CD? I showed her a nod, and when I did that, Rimi gave me an option for a delusion. Put her hands on my shoulder. She suddenly brought her face in closer to mine, which immediately made me fluster. Okay, maybe if I chose green, this would turn into a kiss, and if it turned red, I shove her away. I don't know. We'll have to find out one day. The sweet smell of shampoo wafting from Rimi's hair tickled my nose, and I felt my face turn red. Hey, Taku, let's make a deal. A deal? I'll just lend you the CD. You know this guy's a pushover. If you lend me that CD in return, I'll... Okay, here's the delusion choice. She looked at me, her expression dead serious. I gulped. She'll what? She'll what? What's she gonna do now? Nothing, because we went neutral. She was lost in thought. She probably didn't have anything in mind yet. She could just think of the fact that she could take it as payment for spending all of her time with us, but that doesn't seem to have occurred to her. I don't want you to. Huh? Oh. So you don't want to lend it to me? No, he doesn't want you to pay him back. He'll lend it to you. Of course. Or not. Am I misreading? Oh, I was looking forward to it. Why not lend it to her? Yeah, exactly. What I meant is I don't want you to do anything for me. I'll just lend it to you. Taku! He's probably transferred all the music onto his computer at this point anyway. It's all on Spotify. A big smile shot onto her face. She looked incredibly happy. She looked like she was halfway ready to glomp me. I couldn't say I made girls happy very often, so it inadvertently made me happy too. I was glad I'd been brave enough to say it. What's this Bishi nonsense? Bishi? Then I'll take you up on that offer. Alright then, let's not waste any time. To Taku's house. To Taku's box on a roof. I managed to make it back to base safely. Thanks to Rimi, of course. One thing ended up catching me off guard, though. When we arrived, I asked her to wait outside while I cleaned my room, but she flat out refused. Come on, I saw exactly how dirty it was last time. There's no point in trying to clean it for me. You don't have to try to make it look like you're someone you're not. We're friends after all, right? Give me your CD. Yeah, but I wish I knew exactly what that meant. Rimi was completely absent from my memory, meaning I didn't really know her. Every once in a while, I'd find myself taken aback at how ridiculously friendly Rimi was whenever she talked to me. It wasn't unpleasant or anything, it just made it all the more clear how different we felt about each other. On that particular note, was Rimi serious about there being no point in me cleaning my room? The floor was littered with empty boxed lunches, and the bed was piled high with eroge cases. Eroge cases with not exactly the most safe-for-work cover art. Either Rimi had nerves of steel, or she had no reason to feel on edge around me, but trying to figure out which it was only made me feel even more confused. Rimi, unaware of how distressed I was, went to sit on the sofa, looking earnestly over the lyric booklet included in the Phantasm CD. You have fun with that. I plopped down on my chair, the tension flooding my body left soon after. My mind was completely maxed after spending most of the day terrified, yet I wasn't feeling that exhausted. Maybe that was thanks to Rimi being there. Anyway, what should we do? I don't know. We can drink cola or play ESO or, well, I'm out of options. Closing the lyric book, Rimi stretched her arms out high and sent a smile my way. Yeah, this place isn't exactly built for entertaining guests. What should we do? What were we supposed to do? She hadn't come here to hang out or anything. She just wanted me to lend her a CD. She was doing me a favor by staying with me, but what the hell were we supposed to actually do? Did we have to do anything? If we were in an eroge, we'd probably just jump straight into an H scene, but this is YouTube. We can't do that. Wait, stop. I really shouldn't be thinking about that right now. Even under the best circumstances, it was still a really tense situation. Being alone in my room with a 3D girl and all. My dude, this is the least of your concerns. If I were to have some unwelcome delusions, I might suddenly shoot back to reality and end up saying something weird. Silence. Let's just be awkward together. Rimi was staring vacantly at the various mangas scattered on the floor and the eroge piled up on the bed. Awkward. I knew that most of the awkwardness would dissipate if I just said something, but the only subjects I could think of were video games and anime. And I doubted that Rimi knew anything about either. What does she like? Wouldn't it be more logical for Rimi to say something? She was the one who said she'd stay with me and all. This was going to be a bad time if she actually expected me to lead the conversation. Yeah, that would definitely be a bad time. I'm just going to sit here and make noises. Jesus Christ, I really did suck with 3D girls. I was grateful to her for staying with me, but I couldn't handle the sheer, unrelenting silence. The fact that the room barely had any light was also an issue. It gave off the illusion that the room was dark for some lewd reason. Unable to take it anymore, I turned to face my PC. Yeah, let me just look over here now. I need to look up something. How to start conversations. I've been thinking about it at school. It might even end up giving me a hint as to how I'd get my hands on a D-sword. Is it possible to translate images pictured in the mind to actual images? Using what Senna had told me about VR technology and people being electronic devices as a base, I began researching the subject. What you up to? Yeah, you weren't going to be able to get Rimi to ignore that. Rimi stood up and approached my desk. Should I explain? But how to go about it? It'd take forever if I told her everything. So I just made noises. Oh, come on, don't ignore me. What are you getting up to over there? Seeing no reaction from me, Rimi poked me in the back with her finger. I couldn't just ignore her, right? Yeah, it'd never be that easy. Rimi, can you just stand outside like a guard dog or something? Do you believe that delusions can become reality? As I entered a few keywords into the search bar, I spoke without looking at Rimi. Instead, I pretended I was talking to Saratan. Huh? Like, do I think delusions can come true? Huh? What? That's impossible. If we could do that, everybody would be omnipotent by now. That's a good point, actually. Delusions created a world in which any action, no matter how unrealistic, was possible. If they were to become a reality, the unreal would become real. Unreality would become reality. Why you ask? There's a system that can kind of do that in America. There's a patent that exists. You're kidding, right? I could feel Rimi's doubtful scoff on my back. Hey, I mean, Grimm sent us the background info. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. In response, I showed her the image of the patent that Shiho had found for me, through Grimm. Huh? What's that? Proof that the patent exists. It's a picture of it. Huh? No kidding. Rimi leaned forward and brought her face close to the monitor. She was right next to my face, peering intently at the screen. Oh, no, I stink at English. You could read it, Taku? That's so cool. She was way too close. She was so close I could see the glittering of her eyes as they reflected the light of the monitor. I got flustered all over again. So, what's it say? Seemed it had piqued her interest. I tried to avoid thinking about how close she was to me, and attempted to focus on Saratan and the monitor instead. By using a video device, like a video camera, even people who are blind at birth can see the scenery through it. That's a pro tip. Wait, like the camera could basically be their eyes? Yeah, they call it VR technology. Wow! It'd be amazing if that was real. But it is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's a patent right in front of you, right there. I know it's in English, but it's there. Senna told me there's already been successful tests. Then again, what does this have to do with delusions becoming reality? I think I might just be too dumb to understand. Ha 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 ha. As I explained it to Rimi, I tried searching for a number of keywords that might have been related, but I couldn't find anything. Even so, I kept on trying and typed more and more keywords. The scenery reflected in video devices and the delusions people have in their heads are both electronic signals. Oh? Think about it the other way around. Instead of sending electronic signals to the brain, think of it like sending them out of the brain. All I got were filler responses. She probably didn't understand a thing I was saying, probably. I couldn't be bothered trying to explain everything in detail, so I just stopped trying. I had to concentrate on my research. It didn't really matter if she understood it or not. After all, it was nothing more than a hypothesis I'd come up with. So if you do that... Rimi was still making noises and nodding to herself. Is she figuring it out? Time to ignore her. She could be smart. We'll see. I've been doing a whole lot of searching, but I still was unable to find any data to confirm my hypothesis. I tried taking a different approach, this time focusing my research on the patent itself. I went and checked a foreign website that Shiho had told me about, one that listed American patents. Once I was there, I began to look for patents that would fit with what I had in mind. Interesting. Receiver. Oh my god, it is morphogenetic field theory. After following a few links, I finally found an image with a similar vibe to the one Shiho had sent me. At a glance, though, the patent was clearly different from the VR apparatus one. I should read it right away. Apparatus and method for remotely monitoring and alternating nerve impulse signals and reproducing them as video and audio output. Oh, whoa! That was exactly what I'd had in mind. I involuntarily leapt out of my chair. This is huge. Huh? Huge? What's huge? Simply put, this is the technology to read people's minds. Read minds? To sum it up, the audio and video people were imagining in their heads could be stolen by using a certain apparatus. Moreover, it even said that nerve impulses could be monitored from satellites. That meant it would be possible to spy on a subject's thoughts no matter where they were on the planet. Get your tinfoil hats out, everyone. Can you really do that? Isn't that the kind of thing you'd find in a sci-fi book? Patents can't be filed until the system's been fully completed. You could never get one unless it worked. That had been made clear to me when I've been looking up stuff about patents earlier. You can't get patents on a theory, I guess. That's why this must be a system that's already been proven possible. This wasn't mere fiction. As long as you had the technological capabilities and the funds to build it, you could implement it at any time. Before, Senna had told me that. If it's possible to convert specific information into nerve impulses, wouldn't it be possible to control all 5 of the senses, and even the free will of people itself? I couldn't find a source for that, so it remained a mere conjecture from her. However, for my own theory, there were sources. Why would something so insane not have spread all throughout Japan? This clearly deserved a Nobel Prize, if not something even bigger. I continued my research, this time looking up the mind-reading keyword. Then, I found a record of a particular lawsuit from America. Oh no, more English! Sorry, Rimi. I'm gonna get a headache. Play with Duolingo on your phone while we're doing this. It was a really long document, so even I had a hard time reading it. It probably would read poorly, but I decided to use a piece of English to Japanese translation software. The contents of what was written there can be summarized like this. Legal record. Plaintiff, N.K. Rabin, defendant, the United States Department of Defense, CIA. Plaintiff's allegations. I have become aware that my mind has been read via the use of a particular device. My monitored thoughts are then recorded and subsequently transferred to an unknown location using satellites. So have they now been? How did this lawsuit go for you, sir? The aforementioned satellites have taken me hostage. I have been the victim of constant, unending attacks, regardless of the time of day, all of which were carried out by those very satellites. Whose eyes are those eyes? It's the satellites. Tracking, mind-reading and telepathic surveillance, monitoring of all my bodily signals, biorhythmical attacks, oral attacks, physical debilitation. Since the latter third of December 1990, I've been forcefully shown artificial created dreams during my sleep, some of which include video, audio, and even voices. From February to May 1992, I have fallen victim to several biorhythmical attacks, all of which serve to torture me via the induction of pain and or psychological harassment. Recognizing that these attacks were aimed specifically toward me, beginning February of 1992, I began to record the following information in a journal, the date, time, and contents of any particularly agonizing psychological attack I could remember. The biorhythmical attacks were aimed at every single region of my body. The pain, torture, and psychological harassment were coordinated in order to cause discomfort, fatigue, and agony to specific regions of my body, or in some cases, my entire body. The main regions affected are as follows. Chest, visual system, abdomen, brain to induce sleeping disorders, brain to show me artificially created dreams, and I guess that's it. Yeah, but how'd the lawsuit go? I'm not sure that this fellow has the evidence for the claims that he's making. Tell me it got thrown out. Mind reading, telepathic surveillance, and the government was involved. Wait, are you serious? Oh, I know about this one. I saw it in a movie a few years ago. That was fiction, though. But what was written on these records very much wasn't. There were two possibilities, yeah, exactly. Either the plaintiff was a total mental case or the entire thing was factual. It was difficult to figure out where exactly the boundary between the two was. Taking into account the patent from earlier could very well be truthful. So Senna and Ayase weren't total mental cases, particularly Ayase. I mean, jury's still out on that one. Back then, Ayase had cloned herself right before my very eyes. Also that. I hadn't witnessed the exact moment when it had happened. All I knew was that when I turned around, another Ayase was there. She had also shown me how she pulled her D-sword out of thin air. It had been neither a hallucination nor a delusion. After showing me something like that, there was no way I could still label her as a mental case. However, Ayase had also said this. This too is your delusion. That strange phenomenon, had it been my delusion coming to fruition? These swords can only be seen by those who possess the power. You can see my sword, can you? That can only mean one thing. Maybe that was what Ayase had been talking about when she'd mentioned the power. A power that projected delusions onto reality. Maybe I had that power. Well, you're certainly good at delusions, so... And this is our opportunity to sway that one way or the other? No. I was probably just jumping to conclusions. It was a total stretch to think that a psychic ability existed just because something, a system using scientific means, was able to reproduce delusions as images. You must find it by yourself. I do not know of any methods. You know of at least one. But what if? What if the method to obtain a D-sword was by using such a psychic ability? So let's suppose I had that ability within me. It might have been worth a try. Maybe we're the ones who've been reading minds and stuff. Maybe Orihara didn't say, "Oh, good, I'm in the same class as you," as she walked by. Maybe she just thought it. And we just picked up on it. I picked up the toy D-sword sitting in the corner of my room. Yeah, Rimi's going to have questions about this. I went to stand in the center of my room and brought my sword to eye level like I was an ESO character. All right, I just need to picture an image of a sword in my heart. Yeah, Rimi's like, "What the hell are you doing?" Rimi was looking at me. Our eyes met. And she started laughing. "What are you doing?" She was grinning at something. Something? Oh, I can't imagine what she could possibly be smirking at. I could feel my face turning red. As per my usual habit, I'd held up the sword as if I were alone in this room. It must have been pretty painful to look at from Rimi's perspective. I want to die. I calmed down and I lowered the sword. I was too embarrassed to look at her. I'd rather not dig myself any deeper than I already had. I could only hope that she'd be gracious enough to pretend that she hadn't seen it. If she did, I'd even be willing to get down on my hands and knees for her. My thoughts were then interrupted by Rimi striking the final blow. Hey, are you playing Samurai? I shook my head no. Do you do that regularly? Once again, I shook my head. Today's your first time? This time I nodded. Would you like me to be your sparring partner? I don't know much about fighting, though. I shook my head vehemently. I'm telling you, I'm not playing Samurai. Hey, Taku! Why aren't you looking at me? Because I'm as embarrassed as shit. Isn't it obvious I'm embarrassed, damn it? You saw something you should never have seen. Me playing with my sword. The pure pain and suffering a man underwent when his girlfriend found his porn stash. It must have been comparable to what I was going through right now, except she already found your porn stash because it's lying out in the open. Taku, that? Oh no, did she hate me now? I didn't know if I could ever recover from that. I had to clear up the misunderstanding. Have we actually produced the D-sword and she can see it? That was so cute. Huh? That thing you just did. I could feel it right here in the heart. Ha! Rimi was writhing in delight as she tightly hugged the Seratan body pillow that sat on my chair. I thought she was going to make fun of me, but judging from her attitude, she seemed to mean what she'd said. Oh, I still think she's making fun of you. In other words, Rimi had just unintentionally moed over me. I felt relieved. She didn't hate me, thank goodness. Where did you buy that anyway? Wasn't it expensive? It was 10,000 yen. I got it in a variety shop in Shibuya. Wow, 10,000! Though for a toy sword, I'm not sure if that's cheap or expensive. But wow, I didn't realize till now that they actually sold toys that big. I've never seen one so huge in person before. Have we actually produced our D-sword and she can see it? We haven't clued in yet. I'm still waiting for that. Did someone tell you that they were selling it at the variety shop you went to? She really wasn't going to let it go. Was she interested in these kind of swords or something? Maybe Rimi was actually a total Shinobiyu in disguise. So the one who'd be making fun of me for having a sword actually wanted one herself? Tsundere much? Fuhihi Lamau. I did my own research online. Oh, you saw it online. The internet is so cool. You could really find anything on it. Though, to be honest, I stink at it. I can't even use a computer. Anyway, are those swords a new trend or something? Huh? Why do you ask? Well, I'm just curious why you decided to buy one. Maybe I should just tell her the truth. She was going to stay by my side moving forward. Maybe she ended up helping me search for a real D-sword in the future. If that was the case, it might be better to just tell her everything now and get it out of the way. Keep in mind that everything involves a little conversation about her covered in blood in a back alley. That still needs to come up. This is only a fake, though. But real ones exist. Real ones? Rimi tilted her head, puzzled. I know people who have real ones. 2 of them. Girls from our school. You talk to girls from our school? I'm out. Yeah, girls? You talk to girls? Girls really want a toy like this. It's true. And also, they aren't toys. Oh, right. Sorry. A real one glows, and it has this insane sense of presence, too. That's what I'm looking for. If I could just get my hands on that, I'd be saved. Saved? Rimi looked quite puzzled, but I was dead serious. Not to mention a D-sword would be a powerful tool to confront Shogun. So, help? Oh? I wanted to say that I need her help finding it. However, when I thought about what I could do, even if she said no, I grew too scared and anxious to say anything. I dropped the fake sword on the spot and sat down on the sofa. With a sigh, I closed my eyes. Would Rimi offer me her help in order to find it? Is there another delusion option coming? If she did, everything would turn out okay. But I knew how unrealistic it was to expect her to go that far. Up until now, Rimi had always come dashing to my rescue whenever I was in a tough spot, almost like she could read my mind. In that case, then maybe Anyway, what I wanted to say is, even if there are real ones, you better not buy any, okay? The one that you have already is just a toy, so it's fine. But if you ever got your hands on a real one, that'd be a violation of the Swords and Firearms Possession Control Law. My hopes were crushed instantly. What an insane disappointment. Then again, Rimi's reaction made sense from the POV of an actual person. These past few weeks I'd encountered so many inexplicable things, I was nearly at the point where I was ready to believe everything that Senna and Ayase had said. Maybe Ayase was right. I had to find a D-sword entirely on my own. So, Taku, I felt Rimi sit down next to me. So, about those girls with the really big swords, who are they? Her voice came from very close by. She was right next to me. It was just the two of us in an enclosed, dimly lit room, and we were sitting right next to each other. Emergency! Everyone, battle stations! Emergency! Emergency! Auga, auga! It's honestly a little surprising. I didn't think you knew any girls besides me. Wait, is one of them your girlfriend? So that's where she was going with this. Could it be Rimi was trying to seduce me? No, I'm pretty sure she's just trying to tease you. The only possible conversation that could result from this topic was one centered on romance. After I told her the truth, she'd give me her confession, and then the mood would suddenly get really hot and heavy, and then... Oh God, I couldn't do this. I wasn't prepared for this. I opened my eyes and frantically shook my head. Both Ayase and Senna were mysterious creatures, not to mention absolute mental cases. Schizo didn't even begin to describe them. Hey, you were giving Ayase credit before. I'd have moe'd over them. That's a lot of apostrophes. I'd have moe'd over them if they were 2D characters, but I'd never moe over 3D shit. Especially with Senna. Talking to her just scared me. It wouldn't surprise me if violence was just part of her MO. I wanted to stay as far away from her as possible. So, that's a no. That kinda puts me at ease, I guess. Ta. Huh? There's the delusion. My God, how many of these have I had this episode? Flag tripped! You and your damn flags. How many of these actually have an impact on the story? If they all, just... Wow, there's probably so many branches in this thing. But I also don't have any... I have no agency as far as what does what. Like if I'm going for an ending or try to avoid a situation, it's just, hey, Psy'Min, pop quiz, do you like green or red or nothing? No? Okay, bye. That's like the gameplay right now. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, my whole body froze in place. She'd clearly said it on purpose, right? Was she subtly hitting on me right now? Judging from the flow of this conversation, there was a good chance Rimi had me right where she wanted me. How should I answer? Should I just come out and say exactly what she wanted to hear? We're just going to be neutral as hell. Yeah, surely nothing bad could come from that. Wasn't Takumi blaming me for how poorly I was controlling him a couple of episodes ago? You know what? Maybe he's got a point. But I wasn't sure I had the confidence to go out with a real girl. I was at a loss as to what to do, so I opted to subtly examine Rimi's expression. Neutral route. You're just sitting there. Come on, sitting like that was cheating. And while she was clearly wearing a miniskirt, she was also holding her knees as she sat, so, I can see your panties, Sakihara-san. Actually, depending on the angle, it almost looked like she was completely commando. No. This is going on YouTube. I need you to behave. Against my better judgment, my eyes directed themselves to the home of her thighs. The V-zone. I desperately called forth my rational side to suppress my lust. Save me, Sarah. The way she was sitting. It reminded me of the cover of a classic Moe eroge. Titled Free Sister. I don't need to know the details about your stupid eroge. Limited edition, anime, illustration. No, we're done. That illustration was irresistibly Moe. Get that text box off my screen. I even had it as my PC wallpaper for a while. Hey, Taku.
Hi.
Oh God, I was acting suspicious, wasn't I? You sure were. To be fair, a 3D girl was hugging her knees and tilting her head as she looked right at me. What was I supposed to do? If she kept acting so cute, I was going to die of Moe overdose, even though she wasn't even 2D. I mean, technically she's 2D on my screen. In contrast to my blatantly libido-fueled thoughts, the words Rimi spoke were... Taku, have you ever thought about your future? Didn't she bring us a handout about that when we first saw her, when she brought us our homework? What I mean is, all living things, including people, hurt something else just by being alive. I mean, this is an interesting tangent. She looked very deep in thought. Was she trying to say something here? Does that make sense? It makes a degree of sense. Yes, so? So, you know, you shouldn't push yourself so hard. What does that have to do with what you just said? Did you mean I didn't need to force myself to go to school? That I should stop playing ESO beyond what was reasonable, stop being a total addict, and try to live a healthier lifestyle? Or was she implying that I shouldn't hold back whenever I was struck with lust and let my instincts take over? No, not that one, please. Well, I doubted it was that last one. Foo-hee-hee. You stretching? Rimi stretched as far as she could, then eagerly rose to her feet. The hem of her skirt fluttered in front of my face. I'm really thirsty. I hope you like cola. Do you have anything to drink? I stood up and headed to the fridge, unless we're out of cola. I had some half-finished cola, but I drunk directly from the bottle, so it probably wouldn't be the best idea to give it to Rimi. If you don't have anything, I could go out to buy something. There's a convenience store over by Shinzen Station, right? I felt Rimi stand up behind me. I'll be right back. Well, what's this gonna... She's gonna leave, someone else is gonna come in. She gave me a big smile, then left without waiting for my response. Or is there a reason why she took off? I'm still not entirely trusting this chick. Being alone with a girl really did make me nervous, especially with how Rimi sometimes did things that made my heart skip a beat. Whether she was aware of it or not, though in all honesty she probably wasn't. Man, we are just going over about an hour on all these episodes lately, but I do not have a clean stopping point. I sucked in the lingering scent in the air. I could sense the remnants of a floral scent wafting through the room. This was the smell of a girl. Rimi's smell. Sniff, sniff, I'm so fucked up. I sat in my chair, dejected at how low I'd sunk, unable to do anything but cringe at my vulgar deed. I should be terrified of Shogun and Yua, but here I was soaking in complete ecstasy. Oh! Clean stopping point? You know what? I think I'm going to call that. Am I going to call that? I'm flipping and flopping over calling that. I'm picturing the red and green in my mind. Do I go red or do I go green? You know what? Over an hour has been the norm lately. The last one was like an hour and a half or more, so fuck it. When Rimi was out shopping, I went back to researching the patent in mind reading. When I reached my computer, I noticed that Grim had entered the chat room and was looking for me. Oh god, wouldn't it be funny if she was Grim? I sighed and reluctantly entered the chat room. She's on her phone right now, texting. You there, Neidhart? Hello, Neidhart. Needing as usual, I see. Come on, kid. Chat with me, please. Seriously, I got new info. Neidhart-chan, dinner's ready. Current users 2. Okay, let's just be aware of that. Oh, look, you finally decided to show up. You're too slow, Neidhart. Thanks to that, I've entered Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes mode. Damn it, the fuck was Whose Eyes Are Those Eyes mode? Grim obviously just wanted to use the phrase for the hell of it. Even though he knew I hated seeing that goddamn thing, I'd always freak out whenever I saw it. That's why he does it. What kind of new info? New gen, obviously. It happened, bro. I was about to say the 5th case. Okay, well, we get to see this now. Is it going to be... Uh-oh. Oh, shit. I just realized something. Because, I mean, who knows if it's a full moon or not. But we knew that the victim was going to be a girl. Is the victim going to be Rimi? Is Rimi going to be the victim? And how is that going to reflect on us as the, suspected culprit since we were with her? Let's see. I could be completely wrong. Of course, I felt the usual depression I always felt when I heard about New Gen, but on the other hand, I was also bewildered. I was sure that Shogun and Yua would target me this time. My fate had been delayed, it seemed, though I wasn't sure whether or not to be happy about that. Want to know the deets? It's on the Taboo homepage. A quick search should tell you everything. What time today did it happen? Not today. They found the body last night, but the victim died the day before. Okay, hang on a second. Rimi's out for stuff now, right? So it's probably not her. Not today. They found the body last night. But the victim died the day before, so whoever it is, they've been dead 2 days. This time was seriously insane. The dead guy's brains were removed. Okay, so it's also a guy and not a girl. Okay, never mind. Cancel everything I said before. Without warning, Grim started telling me the details of the case, and I began to panic. I was beyond done with all this gory shit. I didn't want to hear anything about any of it. If I got word of it, I might have imagined myself getting brutally murdered in the same way, even though I still hadn't found out how to get a D-sword. And yet, Grim continued mercilessly. It was seriously freaky, dude. What do you think the cause of death was? Drumroll, please. Emaciation, which means he was alive even after his brains were removed. The repulsiveness of it all sent chills down my spine. I wrapped my arms around my body. I didn't want to hear anymore. Spare me, please, I'm begging you. My life already went to shit a long time ago, so please. Apparently, he was in a state kind of like brain death. He might have even been like that for over a week, just sitting there brainless. He obviously couldn't eat or drink, so no wonder they died of emaciation. @Channel already named the case Numbskull. For crying out loud. These guys have no taste. Netizens really are epic at names. Okay, so this part's hilarious. Get this, the victim was a psychiatrist. A psychiatrist had their brains removed. Actual what-the-fuck-Lamau levels of irony. It's not going to be that Takashina guy, is it? A psychiatrist. The moment I saw that word, my heart rate skyrocketed. I might have been overthinking it, but I had to check to make certain. But I also didn't want to. Is it going to be Takashina? Because that was his name, right? After hesitating off and on for a while, I eventually went to the homepage of Taboo and opened the news article reporting on the Numbskull incident. Takashina. Well, that is unfortunate. Male corpse found in Shibuya Ward, possible 5th New-Gen case, the body of 41-year-old Takashina Fumio. Welp. Yeah. Why even though? Also, just, yeah. Unnecessary. The victim's name was Takashina Fumio. Dr. Takashina. Dr. Takashina had been killed. He was provoking me. Shogun was blatantly provoking me. To do that, he killed the only doctor I could rely on, just to set an example. This can't be, it can't be! Help me, someone! Someone help! Rimi's gonna burst in. I let out a scream. My mind was in complete disarray. I felt like I was on the brink of snapping. Brink nothing. Not like this! Not like this! I don't want to die! I don't want to die! Rimi, save me! I searched for Rimi. I frantically looked around the room over and over again. Not many places to hide in here, buddy. She wasn't there, she wasn't there, she wasn't there. Why wasn't she there? Because she just went out shopping. I lay down on the ground, clutching my head. Help me, Rimi, help me, don't leave me, I'm begging you. Well, does Rimi help me? Does she come back? Are we just going to stay in the fetal position all night? You know what? I'm going to call this good cutoff point. Nah, psych. Okay. Someone responded to me. Shocked, I looked up to find Rimi standing right there holding a convenience store bag. Ha ha ha. Rimi. That would have been a fun cliffhanger. She just comes in the first thing you see in the next episode. Okay. She'd come back, thank goodness. Relieved, I held up my hand. Also, you're not dead like Psy'Min thought you were. Rimi crouched down and embraced my hand with both of her own. Her hands had been cool where she touched me before. But now they felt so unbelievably warm. I'm here. I'm here, Taku. You don't need to be afraid anymore. Using her finger, Rimi wiped my tears away with a gentle smile. How pathetic could I be? I wasn't a man at all. Showing how terrified I was, crying and screaming all in front of a girl. And yet, even while knowing how pathetic I was, she still said that she would stay by my side. Right now, this warmth I felt was the only thing keeping my mind from shattering. Until I got a D-sword, I never wanted to let her go. And there's our cutoff point. And we'll pick up in Miyashita Park next time. I have a feeling we're going to be Yua again, or maybe we're flashing back to when the 5th event happened. Who knows? Who the hell knows? I can't actually. No, it wasn't found. He wasn't found in Miyashita Park, was he? Anyway, yeah, 5th event. Interesting to see where this goes. And hopefully we get our hands on our D-sword at some point. Not a whole lot happened this episode, aside from just hanging out with Rimi. But we were doing a lot of research. We're We're establishing that lore. It's only a matter of time before we get a sword of our very own. What happens after that, who the hell knows? But come back and find out next time, next episode. I will see you guys then. Take care. Have a great week. I know you will. Bye-bye.